1,408. 1,408 days since Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss, and we don't have his body. Now there's breaking news, and I even wanted to, let's see if I can, wow, I'm already on. Wow, that's amazing. Okay. All right, we always have a breaking news. Let's see if I can find my new breaking news. Because I'd like to. Yeah. I think I need to edit that and put in there that that is breaking news. I'm going to do this real quick so people will know. Yes. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now, let's see if I'm on. Okay, yeah. So, we're ready to go. Thanks so much for your patience. Here it is. Happy Saturday. And it is late. It's always late because we're breaking news all the time. And I have to tell you that we have breaking news that the probable estimate for a capital murder, that Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss has reached an all-time high of 95 to 99% probability. So let me repeat that. The estimate of an analysis of partial, not even total, of the evidence in Richard's case. Now, the evidence, we have been told, from the beginning of this, from 2020, you have different possibilities. There's different probable instances of what could happen, what could have happened in Richard's case, right? And so, right from the very get-go, you have like a 20% chance that Richard was murdered, right? 20% chance. 20% chance that he was abducted. 20% chance of that he was hurt, that he walked away, that he committed suicide. 20% chance, 20% chance, 20% chance. That was in 2020. And as we have investigated and moved forward through these years, collecting numerous pieces of evidence, be it screenshots, be it recordings, be it news articles, be it events, connections, background checks, you can go on and on, whistleblowers, witnesses, documents, and the latest being that we have been made a Gold Star family. We have been presented with the Gold Stars, and that is an admission that Richard died on Fort Bliss, that Richard is dead, that he's deceased. Okay? So that is really huge. The paperwork then shows that he died on Fort Bliss. Um, okay, Fort Bliss then is, uh, lots of money has gone into that military installation to record, right? All of the cameras, all of the gate guards, all the other guards, all the other security, uh, on and on and on. Uh, so for a soldier to die on Fort Bliss um, is a huge admission of foul play, right? It's a huge admission. Now, if Richard, we're talking about April 24th, 2024, and just a couple days ago to get the gold stars, the United States government listed the date of Richard's death in July of 2020. Okay, July of 2020, almost 4 years ago. Now, so when you're doing an analysis of all of the evidence from, the paperwork that we have submitted, the answers that we have gotten back, the screenshots, the witnesses, the whistleblowers, um, all of the evidence, the recordings, uh, it's huge, and you have these possibilities, and now today, um, taking in all of those things into consideration, the analysis, the probable estimate of capital murder, okay, capital murder is 95 to 99%. Okay, so the autopsy reports, all the information about the medical examiner, all the information about Yvonne Rosales, all the information about Joe Spencer, all the information about the Walmart mass shooting, all the information about Juarez and the Attorney General's office there in Juarez, in the Fiscalia, all the information with Bill Hicks, all the information with Bob Moore, Angela Kachurga, Nastasia Paloma Thompson, she got married, Danae Katzen, Ambrice, she got married, David Candelaria, UTEP, Park University, and there's some information that we didn't put in, but when you take all that into consideration, the analysis for capital murder in Richard's case came back, the probable estimate is 95 to 99%. 95, you did not hear me stutter. It is 95 to 99%. And the Interpol picture came out very, very high, a very, very high factor. And in the evidence. I mean, there's so much evidence. There's enough. But I just want to tell you how, I didn't really factor that in my own mind, how powerful the tampering was of the Interpol picture, and how that really was an interference in Richard's case, so much so that it indicated foul play at such a high degree. And when you think about it, it really, really makes sense. So, the other, and I didn't even have, because this is breaking news too, is that Leilani Hart has a new name. She has a new name. And let's see, I don't know if I can pronounce it, but it's spelled Efaraimo. Efaramo? Efaramo. Um, I'm not sure if I pronounced it right, but she has a new name. Now, her divorce went through to James Courtney Hart. And now that went through, and then a few days later, it seems like she changed her name. She has admitted, this is not me, this is her FBI notarized affidavit, where she admitted in there that there is a problem with her immigration status. Okay. And, you know, I don't know. I know that she's a convicted criminal, that she has a long criminal history, lots of crimes. I know that she was convicted for lying to law enforcement authorities. I know that there is a huge discrepancy, and I'm going to put that up. I've been working on it to make sure I get everything right with Team Find Richard Halliday. But that there is these discrepancies about Tavita Nusa, right? About Tavita Nusa's family and about Dallas Hart's opinion on Tavita Nusa to me. Because he called him Travis. He called him Travis, and he was like, I don't even know him or whatever. But then we have evidence that says different. And then, of course, we have James Courtney Hart that called Tavita Nusa like, oh, yeah, that's her cousin. And I said, but our reports are that she's having an affair, a sexual relationship with him. And he's like, oh, yeah, knowing her, yeah, whatever. So, you know, with Lilani calling him Tavita Nusa, a nephew, and Tavita Nusa is a CID agent that was investigating Richard's case. So this is a huge conflict of interest. Of course, he was also reported in giving Lilani Hart officially reported to the FBI, to many agencies, that that he was giving Lilani Hart extra favors for her sexual favors that she was giving him, I guess. I don't know. And that is unauthorized access to files, and that she was tampering with Richard's file and interfering in the investigation, in the search and investigation of Richard. So there has been a lot of foul play in many different ways, but the analysis that we wanted, that we asked for, was the analysis of capital murder, to look at what we have, you know, and not even 100% of what we have, and make an analysis between, on a scale from 1 to 100, what is the probability of Richard being a capital murder case. And, you know, the 95 to 99%, 95 to 99%. And I think that is huge, right? That's huge. And, you know, many are not privy to the casualty report. Many are not privy to the paperwork that we've had to fill out. And so we thought that we could do this analysis to let people know that we are absolutely not over exaggerating or, yeah, the findings, the notice of death, the paperwork that, gives the place of death, the time of death, also the autopsy reports that are giving more and more information now, um, because it seems like, well, the reports that we wanted corroborated is that Richard was charred, um, and of course, um, this dismemberment issue, and that they use the dental records to identify him. So that is coming back, and the lack of response from our findings by the Army right now. I mean, think about it. Major General Eisenhower, we've just knocked him into silence. He's just totally silenced, because he has this duty to cover up and protect the brand, but he absolutely has a duty to the families of murdered soldiers, right? He, especially those that have been murdered on his footprint. And for him not to even have the ability, well, he has the ability, the courage. He doesn't have the courage, or, he is in such a tight spot, because of the corruption, that he doesn't feel safe. I guess he doesn't feel safe to give us a call, right? To respond to our notifications of the notice of death, and that Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss, and what the autopsy reports are showing. Yeah, it's and the autopsy reports could be absolutely botched, because the medical examiner, the chief medical examiner in El Paso, is not even legal. He's operating that position, that very high-powered position, as a judicial officer, as a judge, okay, for $438,000 plus a year. It's a whopper, 753% more than the average El Pasoan he's making. And yet he's illegal, and he's not qualified for that position. He's not qualified. And so this is the problem. If he's illegal and he's not qualified, and he is illegally going against the Texas Constitution by sitting in that judicial officer's chair, he's botching every case that he touches. And I think that people need to be really made aware of that, because it's not just Richard's case. It's not just Richard's autopsies. And, the amazing thing in Richard's case is, because he was dismembered, we have other autopsy reports to look to. And those are coming out, those, the Interpol, the autopsy, the witnesses, and all of the evidence. It's just pushing the probability of capital murder in Richard's case to 99%. Okay, the number that came back is 95 to 99%. And that's not even including all of the evidence. So I think that, when you get a notice of death almost 4 years later, and the paperwork comes back that Richard died on Fort Bliss, and we have the DES and the Homeland Security and the Department of State and on and on and on, and Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and the PAO and the responses from everyone, admitting that really the admission is that Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. There's just no, you can, the system doesn't work in flashing signs, right? It doesn't. It works in narratives. And the narrative is that Richard was murdered brutally on Fort Bliss. That's the narrative from the paperwork when you put it together, when you read between the lines. And am I happy about I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy about that because that means that our prime suspects are looking at the death penalty. They are looking at the death penalty. So, I don't know how, makes sense why Leilani Hart would want to change her name right now. And, I don't think she can sell her house because she has a lien. She has a lien for unpaid hospital bills. And it seems like they've been trying to get in touch with her. But she has a lien on her house. Or I guess, seems like it, for unpaid hospital bills. And that's public information. And it's like, wow, is she wanting to get up and leave? Is she going to stick around? When she changes her name like that, you think that she's ready to go for the hills or something, right? Go for the islands. But she has, she has a really strange history. Because Dallas told me that she's from the Philippines. Okay, that's what Dallas told me, is that she's Filipino. And, but she says she's Samoan. But she's an unreliable source. So of course she has a history of lying to law enforcement authorities. She doesn't blink an eye to lie. So Dallas Hart told me that she was Filipino. So I don't know if she's trying to go back there, or if she's going to stay in the El Paso area. I don't know. I do know that she's a prime suspect. I do know that Dallas Hart is a prime suspect. I do know that Tavita Nusa, the CID Fort Bliss agent, that lost his badge, that was absolutely separated from the military when the whistleblower came out, in our timeline that we have. Absolutely. And we know that the time is running very, very short when, the probable estimate for capital murder case and Richard's case is 95 to 99%. And you don't have to have 100%. You have to have beyond a reasonable doubt. And we have that. We have beyond a reasonable doubt. And so just, and there's going to be people that are very angry at us for sticking with this. And that's because, they're connected to Richard's case. Yeah, they wish would go away. And they, think that, you could just give us, and I'm very appreciative for the Gold Star, very appreciative for it. But, that's just the middle of this case, we still have our wrongful death suit. We still have a lot of other things to do in order to get the perpetrators arrested, right? Getting the admission. No one ever thought that we would get the notice of death, right? And people are like, "Oh, you're never going to get an admission of murder," but we did. We did, and it's not in a flashing sign, no. But it is, with all the irregularities, with all the evidence that we have, it clearly is a capital murder case. Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. So, thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Danielle. And I hope that that answers a lot of questions going on out there. And the other is, if you are, if your house is not in order, you don't go to an even messier house. You know what I mean? And, those that attack us day in and day out, that align themselves with the murderers, the suspected murderers in our son's case, that, you don't want to go to that dirty house because they're not friendly. It's kind of like Hotel California, right? You can check in, but you can't check out. You don't want to go over there. It's a bad place to be. And, we're still waiting for our story to be put out. But, yeah, I just think that we needed to get that message out there. That this is a time when things are very short. Time is very short and of the essence. And they need to come forward. They need to speak out. And we're very grateful for the ones that we have already. So that is huge breaking news. And I will let you go. Please comment. Please like. Please share. I think that's very, very, very important. And, this name change, this doubting about if Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss, that just is all trying to control the narrative, trying to redirect, trying to scam artists, veterans groups. That's what that is. So thank you so much for coming on here, realizing that. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. I will be. And we just have so much going on behind the scenes. Just know that that's why you might see the retaliation against us, is because these, we believe that these people are murderers, and it's attached to the Walmart mass shooting, that these people are murderers and that they are attached to the Walmart mass shooting. That's what we believe. And so if they're going to say mean things to us, that's what they do. They're facing a capital, they're facing the death penalty. That's what they're facing. So, they're going to try to wiggle their way out of that. Yeah. Okay, and this whole thing with the Real Fit Fam El Paso, one more thing about that, is there's a lot going on behind the scenes that I'm not at liberty to tell everyone yet. When all of that develops, I will tell you and you will understand more. Okay, you'll understand more. So, but you don't go to a site that has been reported for harassment and threats. You don't align yourself. I mean, you know, the that's not a good choice. That's not a good choice. Um, yeah. Thank you, everyone. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.